found out Chuck Norris died, man.
Dude, I mean, what? There's no. When you say man's man,
Yeah.
he is the man's man.
Yep.
There is no other dude that exemplifies what that is, I think. Besides Jesus himself, bro.
Dude, Chuck was... You know, very rarely do you have a hero anymore that that the heroicism is kind of true. And I think he was one of the true, like he made the statement in an interview, I didn't do any drugs or alcohol in my movies because I wanted my heroes to be actual heroes. You know, he talked about Walker, Texas Ranger, and about how he didn't carry a gun in that show because he wanted to show that gun violence wasn't always the answer to solve a problem. And he very much was all about pure heroicism and a very masculine dude with his manly beard and his, you know, not to mention his gigantor mustache in the 80s. And
I mean, but the dude was a solid Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man of faith. He raised his family that way.
Yep.
He didn't have a bunch of affairs and
No. Was married to the same woman forever. You know,
and even though even though Walker, Texas Ranger, he didn't care whatever, but he's still pro Second Amendment.
Yeah.
He's still, whatever. He's still like, he was one of the, like you get some of these action heroes nowadays that like, they'll sit there on screen and shoot guns and blow things up and everything. Then off screen, they'll be like, but we believe you shouldn't. I mean, it's like you were total
control laws.
Yeah. So he wasn't one of those. That was another thing. And I mean, dude, I couldn't, when I read that, and I saw it, the 10 days before he died on his birthday, he was freaking sparring and like kicking the shit out of this guy.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I'm still curious to know what his cause of death was.
Yeah. I mean, but honestly though, man, and when can
you be such a badass that you die from it? Because if that's the case, he would be the one.
Well, they said one of the memes I saw was great. It said 3 years ago, the Green Reaper got him, but Roundhouse kicked him and knocked him out, and he just woke up.
Dude, I'm telling you, in my game, he changed fitness. The Total Gym is actually a fabulous and functional piece of equipment that works. Like Chuck was all about doing the good stuff, right? Like, dude, there's a movie and I can't remember. Was it Silent Vengeance? The one where he fought the guy that was like unbeatable. He wasn't like Jason or Michael Myers, but he played the cop and he had to.
I don't remember.
It was so good. It's so awesome. Like Missing in Action, Lone Wolf McQuade.
Delta Force. He was even in Dodgeball. That's what showed he had a sense of humor. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. I mean, he even did the meme himself.
Yeah.
The tiger story, dude, where he's sitting there in front of so I was sitting there and by the tiger and he's saying this.
Yeah.
And I come up close and you hear this little growl and everything else. And the trainer goes, you need to get back up slowly and back away slowly. And he goes, so the tiger got up and backed away slowly. And it's like, dude, you are a legend, bro.
Not to mention the fact that there was like 5 years where every joke was a Chuck Norris joke.
Oh, bro, everything was.
I don't know, dude. I was like, man, when you mark the death of somebody who had the impact that he had and the positive impact that he had, and the fact that he didn't apologize for it, he didn't care what people thought, he did it his way and was successful. You just can't help but be like, good luck, bro. I'll see you when I get there. Like, it's going to be awesome watching you roundhouse kick demons in the face that are trying to get into heaven. You're going to have a job when you get there, Chuck. It's going to be standing at the pearly gates and roundhouse people that are trying to get in and they ain't supposed to get in.
Dude, the one though, I'm telling you, man, when I read that, the one I sent you there was funny. He wasn't invited to heaven. He just let himself in and told God, I got this.
Yeah, I got this.
It's like, okay, man. That was funny.
And shout out to his family for doing the right thing and keeping everything under wraps until they were ready to they're ready to talk about it, which I feel like was kind of honoring him. He probably didn't want it all in the public if something did happen. He may have had pre-existing something. We don't know. Because he was really kind of out of the spotlight for a while.
But like he was, I mean, but he wasn't trying to be. I mean, like he wasn't one of those guys.
I think he hit a point where he didn't need to be anymore.
Well, no, I mean, but it was like, I mean, I think he just didn't, I don't think he cared about the spotlight. Yeah. I mean, really, I don't know the guy really, but I mean, it certainly didn't seem like he's one of those glory hounds. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, you know, and his Dakota is his son. I don't remember. I thought his son is going to act or do an acting.
I think he is acting.
And he seems like he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders. And he said he had a really cool social media post that was, you know, raised his dad up. And,
dude, what an awesome thing to say to somebody. My name's Dakota. Chuck Norris is my dad. And then everybody's like, all right, whatever. Good luck, Chuck. But no, it was a huge loss. It was a huge loss for men. It was a huge loss for men of faith. It was a huge loss for everybody, man. He was just an all around good dude, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and I realized this too when I heard that. Like I was like, oh, but he was 86. It's not like he was a young guy.
Yeah, he wasn't 40.
No,
like he
wasn't. It wasn't like the Charlie Kirk thing where he was like,
yeah,
dude,
he was
somebody gunned that dude. You know,
decades, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, like he was. You know, he lived a full life, bro.
He did.
You know, that was
like
crazy.
I said, full life. So great family.
And I mean, that's what's different when you get to when you talk about, man, what's your time to go? It's your time to go.
Yeah.
But when you live a full life and then you go, it's like. It doesn't feel, it's not as heavy, you know, like.
Well, and it feels more
natural.
Complete.
Yeah, more complete, more natural, more like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, when people get taken by assassination or something like that, it's like, ugh, it hits you in the gut a little different. At least it does me. But there is, I think there's something to be said there though, that even in there, everybody's filling the void of information vacuum, even in the Chuck Norris's death.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like there was all kinds of weird, crazy, queer, dumb things going on.
Yeah, and I mean that's really what we're talking about today is this humanistic must fill information vacuums with stuff.
Yeah,
and there's a lot to take in here because it's not just a cognitive response or a phenomenon. I think it's really a spiritual diagnostic, and it kind of leads you to where your worldview is.
Yeah.
So you're not knowing, and how you deal with that kind of helps you gauge where you're at as far as your spiritual journey goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for a Christ-centered man. I mean, like if you don't know something and that causes you some severe anxiety and all this kind of stuff, and I think that's a time to kind of have some introspection and be like,
kind of slide back a little
bit.
What is all this about?
Yeah, where's my faith and where's this?
But I think I think you hit it on the nose with that word, like faith. You can gauge a lot about a person and their ability to have faith by their ability to sit back and say, I don't have all the facts yet. We're just going to sit and wait and get it all right. You know, I can't tell you how many times somebody's come to me and said, oh, did you hear about this? And I was like, yeah, I heard about it. And they're like, well, from what I understand, which is the worst freaking way to start a sentence in the history of the world. From what I understand, well, I understand this, that, and this, that, and this, that. I haven't heard any of that. Like, I'm waiting to, and more often than not, that's either a half truth or a rumor, right? But I need help understanding why people can't just Chuck Norris died. We'll figure it all out later, right? Like, why do you need to know or apply something to it now?
And it's actually used, and I think we've talked about this before, but this whole mechanism of the human brain must fill this information void. We must predict this, which we're going to talk about. That is used and manipulated for propaganda and other nefarious means. I mean, you know, it's not like these people in the government or in politics or whatever don't understand that. They do. They understand this very clearly, which is why you have these situations where they can say, the story gets released. No one has all the information yet. They're going to make bold claims about it, even though they don't know, because we as humans look to that anyway.
Yes.
Right. And that plays out right now. Right now, what you see across the globe with all kinds of things, whether it be the Iran thing, the Cuban thing, or just any of it. Like whenever because we don't have any, especially the Iran conflict, war, whatever you want to call it. I still don't think it's a war. It's a very long conflict.
Either. I don't even think it's a conflict. I think it's a police state. I think it's
but I'm saying,
I think they're literally, and I think it's going to be over probably in the next 2 weeks. I think Trump's he's asserted control. We've essentially taken out all of their capabilities. Apparently Mojaba, or whatever his name is not a great leader. So like, but another good example is, the school that was blown up with the kids in it. That was tragic. But everybody rushed, all the left rushed, oh, it was America, it was Trump's bomb. We don't actually have any verification of that at all. We don't know where the bomb came from. We don't know if it was Israel's bomb. We don't know if it was our bomb. We don't know if it was there. And there's no true way to verify it. There's not enough left of it for us to figure out. But again, tragic occurrence. A bunch of people rush to a conclusion that they don't have any facts for because their brains aren't capable of saying, oh man, that's tragic. Let's wait and see exactly what the facts are.
Yeah. I mean, cause you're going to say,
but it also says a lot about your leanings too, if you're left or right or whatever you are.
That's what I mean.
Right?
You're going to fill that gap with your perspective, your worldview, right? So like, the official story and the contradictions, and then you have the what you're told versus what you suspect and all this stuff. And you're filling that with your worldview perspective.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's and so if you're a logical person, this becomes a question where you just that space becomes a continuing bunch of questions.
Yes.
So that's where you're trying to clarify. You're trying to get to. You're trying to get all this other stuff you're being told. You're like, is that true or not? That's what you're going through. And I think this is one of the places where critical thinking has just dropped off the face of the planet with some people, this is all part of it. Like the logical approach to an event where you have to sort through what is true, what's not, what is likely, what is being propaganda, what is not. This is all stuff we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But there's specific mechanisms in our brain that make this what it is. Okay. So our brains are basically, according to neuroscience, is a prediction mechanism.
Prediction engines. Yes.
Yes. A prediction engine. It's not just some passive receiver that's just taking in everything and then and just processing it. No, there's actually some modeling that they've done to say, yes, it's actually, we generate a prediction about what comes next, then compares that to incoming data, right? So we already make a prediction, then whatever data comes in, we're comparing it to that prediction and then adjusting it as it goes, right?
Yes.
That was part of who did I say was Karl
Friston, the Bayesian brain model.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that when there's a prediction error, the brain treats it almost like pain. That's very telling too.
It's got to resolve though. That's the thing. It's got to resolve it somehow, right? And that's critical because there's it does burn energy. Some calories are used, and it triggers stress hormones.
It does.
So that tells you what that is. Another prominent neuroscientist, Ari Kruglanski. Man, I can't.
Kruglanski. Ari.
The need for cognitive closure is what they say. So I mean, people do two things. They seize the first available explanation, then they freeze, becoming resistant to new evidence, which is what we see, good grief, so much from especially our left-leaning friends.
Yes.
Yeah, they do two things. They seize on the first one and they freeze on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that causes this whole thing where it's like you can't get out of it, right?
Yep.
And that's not a good thing. An example of this was when they had all those Gulf countries being drone strikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so no one knew. I don't even know if that's got resolved now, but there was like all these people throwing it out about it's this, it's that, this. It's like, and especially on the left was like, it's all Israel, you know? It's all Israel. It was like,
well, when they first started, when everything first broke out, there was even reports that we were bombing Khomeini's allies, which would actually wound up being that Khomeini was bombing his own allies. But everybody just assumed that because there was an area being bombed, that it was us that was bombing it, right? So
exactly.
This is where we've talked about this before too. This is where I struggle with a lot of communication is, Michael Shermer coined patternicity, which is the tendency to detect meaningful patterns in random or incomplete data,
mm-hmm.
which I wonder if that's sort of coexists or aligns with our current situation where, again, a lot of what we hear is half-truths and we assume they're whole truths, and then we begin to weave a pattern together, move those things around. I've even had people tell me things where the time and the dates have been swapped or moved
mm-hmm.
because what their brain is doing is trying to give them a literal viable pathway. And when what they don't realize that they're doing is that their left-leaning or right-leaning tendencies are actually narrating it, not the truth, right? That's what I think we've talked about that before, but, I don't know how to. And then what's really interesting is when you hit them with actual facts, it's like you threw cold ice water on them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, that's not true. That didn't happen then. It happened then. And then they're like, well, that's what I heard. And then your first question is, well, where'd you hear it from? And they go, I don't know. Okay. I don't really talk about things unless I've done some research, especially things that are of weight. So I don't know, man. This is, but the dynamic is when a machine runs on incomplete data, it starts connecting dots that may not connect. I think the clinical term is apophenia.
Apophenia.
That is not a 1980s girl band.
No. Or related to ABBA.
Yeah, and that's not ABBA. Yeah. Although, I jammed to some Dancing Queen right now if you played it. I know that's a weird thing for a dude to say out loud, but
it's really weird.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's Saturday.
We're gonna chalk that up as a mental slip up from our good friend
you listen
Brian.
to me. ABBA's jams. That's okay.
Yeah, okay.
Disco rules. Sorry.
Sure you are. But I mean, this goes even farther where like you have, formulas and stuff that were created about like how rumor dynamics and everything else. So, I mean, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but like the end, at the end of the day, I think we have one key mechanism that is at the root of all of this, and that's fear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So every single predictive processing and mechanism that we have traces back to our threat detection system, if you want to call it that.
amygdala.
Right. So fight or flight, this is where we're at. And I think this is, curiosity can't hold open the question and fear cannot. Or I'm sorry, that's the other way around. My bad. Curiosity can hold a question open, but fear cannot, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And then we're going to fill it with whatever's the most threatening thing out there, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just our fight or flight response to not knowing something and filling the vacuum with the most worst possible choice. And I mean, that's where we get to a real take on faith and grace and where we are in the worldview side of things, right? Because the prediction engine, the I'm gonna seize whatever it is and I'm gonna freeze on it. The pattern matching, the fear root, all that stuff is what I would call the flesh response.
Yes.
To that situation. But there's an alternative.
Yes.
And that's where we should be.
Yes.
What is that alternative, Brian?
To cast our anxieties on him. He who has borne our salvation, and trust in him existentially, spiritually, to have faith.
See, I think this is where people get all wrapped up into this, like faith is based on nothing. It's not, though. Like there is no point in I'll say this. There's no point in theology where it says, based on no facts or real evidence whatsoever, you should do this.
I'll give you an example. Would you like an example, Reggie?
I would love an example.
Moses. The Red Sea.
Yep.
Pharaoh on his tail. Moses didn't part the Red Sea. God did. God didn't go, well, the predictive model says that the Pharaoh's going to stab you to death and everybody's going to die right here next to the Red Sea. No. He parted the Red Sea and allowed them to go through. And then drowned all of the Pharaoh's men in the sea when he unparted it, we'll call it. Another one would be Abraham. You see visible signs of an unwavering faith all the way through the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible have I ever read that it says, well, he just had faith, so it was good. No, he had faith because God demonstrated that faith was worthy to have, and so they were strong in it, right?
Like and I'll even say this, like the Abraham story where he's going to sacrifice his son is like one of the ones that killed me for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I got to really studying it where I realized that it wasn't the faith that he thought that, something, I guess it was like Abraham took it and probably with his strong faith was looking at it like God will do something to make this right.
Yeah.
No matter what
he didn't know whether he would or would not have to go through with sacrificing his child.
He didn't know, but he
just understood that as a faithful servant of God, he had to follow God's commands, and that, one way or another, it would work out in his favor if he had faith in God.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a challenging story. It really is, and I understand this, and it's a sticking point for some men when they talk about Christian faith and whatever.
Well, dude, I'll give you a real-life recent example, and a real-life recent example was COVID, the vid.
Yeah.
Several people in my life in COVID, because I did not get a vaccination, I did not get a booster, I got none of that, kept going, well, what if you die? What if you get sick and die? Well, guess what? My faith tells me that if God wants to kill me with COVID, your vaccination or shot is not going to stop it, number one. Number two, if I truly believe that everything that happens, good, bad, right, or wrong, is part of the fabric of that God has woven together for my future, guess what? It ain't nothing I'm going to be able to do to stop it. So why, I guess, is the question. Am I, why, everybody's like, I met so many Christians that were like, oh, I got the shot because it was a miracle from God. No, it wasn't.
No. We
know now that vaccination was probably the worst possible thing you could have done, and it's going to probably exacerbate into several different problems in the future. It wasn't properly vetted. It wasn't properly studied. There's just, that was a recent thing. The COVID, man, everybody was like, I don't care how contagious COVID is, it's not stronger than God's will or plan. So therefore I chose the strongest side to stand on, which was God's will or plan.
And you didn't, and I'm going to say this too, because it illustrates this really quite well. You didn't like totally dismiss any kind of real science behind
No.
anything. You understood that there was a
Risk.
virus. There was risk factors for everything. There was probabilities for everything. And I mean, it's not like you totally dismissed everything that was intellectually there.
Yeah.
You just said, look, there's not enough evidence for me to say that that's a good thing for me to do.
There's not enough evidence for me to say that whatever you're planning is stronger than my faith.
Exactly. And I have a faith where at the worst that happens, I go to heaven.
Yeah. Worst case scenario
is the best case scenario.
Is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
and I want to say this too. And this is a lot of, speaking of, we're going to get over rabbit trail a little bit, dude. Sorry.
Let's go. Dude, I love rabbit trails.
I constantly have to, I verify all kinds of stuff, right? And I spend most of my time like on social media, really. Like I don't really do any social media stuff. Like I'll find one little thing. I'll be like, huh, that's interesting. And I'll go search for it and and have this whole like AI thread about it or something. And so here's the thing. Here's an example of where I have faith that I don't, I'll just keep moving and I really don't have to fear the unknown. I have faith that God's going to work everything out the way it's supposed to work out. Right.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not using my intellect or science to help me in that journey.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
And here's an example. You see constant stuff on social media about, at least, okay, in my feed about cholesterol isn't the enemy. You're taking all these statins. The statins are bad. The statins are killing you. And so I see this constantly, right? And I'm on a statin because my cholesterol was really high before. It's actually not it's pretty good now. But so I keep hearing this, right? And everybody's like, and you see this constantly. Okay. So I deliberately had to take and I took 2 hours out of my day to go study what cholesterol is, what it actually does, what these statins do, all this stuff. And I used AI as part of that. Mm-hmm. Okay. And my conclusion was, and all the actual studies with real people, with real statins, with real cholesterol, all this stuff said that the statins weren't a legitimately, they increased mortality rates quite a bit. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
In other words, it helps people live longer and deal with other stuff better, right? And I don't have the exact percentages here or whatever it is, but the real science behind all this says that certain statins, and not everybody, don't go getting all riled up over there, Mr. I'm holistic, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that you're not wrong. You shouldn't take a statin if you don't need it, but your doctor is I'll go down. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, let me just say this. Through research and studies and everything else, it was like, okay, statins really aren't necessarily your enemy. They're not going to necessarily be some death trap for you to cause all this stuff. It can, and I'm sure that will, but in some cases, but you don't need to buy all the nonsense because they're doing something too. They're trying to sensationalize a certain thing to promote whatever the hell they're promoting, and they all are. Okay, so there's just one little example about it's not about you not being empirical or scientific about something. I mean, you just have faith that it's going to work out the way it is, and but you're still looking at and researching things and trying to make sense of it, right?
Yes, I think that goes along with our health as well, in the sense that before everybody, and look, dude, I've gotten a lot of flack from this, especially because I'm still in the training industry and I still do personal training and I still do consultation. When I talk to people about things like Ozempic, and they'll say, well, Ozempic will do this. And I'll be like, no, it won't. And they're like, well, I've been told. I was like, well, either someone lied to you or you made it up, because what you're doing is you're listening to all of these message boards and all these things that are making claims, but no doctor or physician has made any of those claims. We have this tendency to also, when we want something, this is probably one of the most interesting aspects to me, is when we want something to be true. how we'll fill the information gap.
Yes, right. Because that's our worldview
with
that.
Falsities,
right?
Because we want it to be true. I want to be able to take a medication that will cause me to lose weight and not do any hard work. So even if I hear something negative about it, I will mentally block that out, and I will pick up the things that are positive, even if they're untrue, because I'm trying to get an ends to a means here, right? That's the one that scares me even more. Like I've always said, ignorance can be cured by learning. Stupidity cannot, because I believe that stupidity is a chosen path. Ignorance is, to me, is, hey, I just don't know the facts. Give me the facts and I won't be ignorant to the situation anymore. But when you are stupid about something, unless you have a major brain injury, you're choosing to be stupid. You're choosing to be uneducated and ignorant in a way that you're not going to ever try to fix. So I think that kind of feeds into all that. So tell me a little bit, Reggie, about filling the gap and how we process that information and where we get that information from. Like is there a percentage of people that source it from, of course, their leanings? Is there a percentage of people that just make stuff up? Do they understand and know what the differences between the two are, right? Like that to me is a very interesting one as well, because a lot of times you'll hear something that's just, it wasn't even reported in a bad media outlet. You just like imagined in your mind that a CNN host said it and it didn't happen. So,
well, yeah, I mean, here's the deal. If you are the Trump derangement syndrome, there's your answer to that question. Everything is if you use the T word, forget it.
Well, let's give them examples. Number one, he's going to take away my rights as a woman. Nobody's lost rights as a woman. Abortions are still illegal. It's just left up to the states. If you have to travel a little bit to have one, probably give you some time to think about the reasons why you shouldn't. Number two, he's Hitler. Nothing that he's done at all can be compared to anything that psychopath did in Germany.
But let's say this real quick. Fascism is a tool for the left.
Yes.
Not the right.
The lefts are fascists. That's the problem. It's kind of comedic to watch a fascist call somebody a fascist. There's so many things that have been pushed out in the media. And again, not a huge Trump fan, don't think the guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Did vote for him. We'll admit that openly. But I'd rather have voted for him than for a corpse. But 100% of what you're hearing pushed out there right now is all just fabricated. And I'll be honest with you too, it's gotten to the point of derangement. Like there's been people that have come out and openly called him a child rapist. That's defamation.
It is. And I want to make something very clear here though. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Trump or anybody. If you have been found by significant and cognitively appropriate evidence that says you have abused a child, no, you have no place in my world whatsoever.
No place anywhere.
No.
Period.
I don't care. At that point, you don't belong in anything. No. And I'm saying that literally, like I don't care who it is.
Yeah, and that's not to say that if sometime somewhere somebody brought out some evidence that was actually provable that he did something wrong, that I wouldn't be like, yeah, you're right, got to go.
But I mean, that's where most people land. I think this is so you hear a lot of, okay, we're getting down another one, but like you hear a lot about, because I follow a lot of libertarian leaning stuff.
Yes.
Mostly that's where I'm at, because I don't like the right or the left currently.
Really quickly. You and I both have said this, but I feel that it's important. Explain what that means. Libertarian. Explain what that means, Reggie.
Oh, libertarian is really just a foundation built on personal responsibility and individual freedom.
Okay.
Period.
Perfect. It's a perfect way to explain it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the reason why people say, Brian, are you a Republican? I am a registered Republican, but I am far more libertarian than I am Republican.
Because I'm not a warmonger.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily the moral police. I don't want to do that either.
I have a very big issue with us running all over the world fighting other countries' battles. Dude, if they want to fight, let them fight. Best man wins, unfortunately. That's just the way it works.
I'm a free market proponent.
I'm a proponent of capitalism.
There it is, right? I mean, it's just no. So
I believe that anyone in the world should be able to live any way they choose. Now, does that necessarily mean that I agree that they should live that way? Well, yeah, but here's the thing about this too is, there's so many examples of this out there, Reggie. When we were going over the outline for this podcast and what we wanted to talk about, the moment you told the input of what we were going to talk about went into my head, a million examples popped up.
Yeah, because they are.
So another example
constant,
of filling it in on a person-to-person level is when I meet somebody and the first thing out of their mouth is, are you a conservative? Are you a Republican? Are you a Trump supporter? I already know where your mind is going. If that is your first concern about me, if your first concern about me is my political leanings, I'm probably not going to like you.
Either way.
If you were to come in and be like, if that's something you were to ask me after having a conversation and getting to know me, okay, that might be a little bit different. But when we're in a conversation and we're bending into each other and the first thing out of your mouth is, well, what are your political leanings? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. I mean, and this is the thing. I'm less, I say that what I say there is because I'm less about politics and more about spiritual worldview.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, what happens when you're a leftist and I'm a conservative and you ask me and I say, oh, I'm a conservative and I voted for Trump, you immediately begin filling in my background with things that aren't there.
Again, you make predictions.
That's right.
Based on the little information you have.
Yeah. So,
and you seize and freeze on it.
And so that's an example of how it can happen not only on a mass level, but it can happen on an individual level.
Yeah. And this is even played out because what'll happen is, and this is where I was going to the libertarian thing. The libertarian outlets will say like all MAGA does this.
Yeah.
And they use the term, they throw that around all the time. MAGA is this. Like MAGA, like I get really like, why are you using "Make America Great Again" like something like a MAGA person?
I'm going to say this, but you're using it like the N-word.
It's kind of dumb.
It's terrible.
I think it's stupid, and because it's like because I actually liked that. I actually did. I think that was a fantastic political slogan.
Well, MAGA, Maha, Make America Healthy Again.
What I mean, come on. It makes it. I mean, look, it's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, okay. Let me get back to this.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about how the empirical and scientific is not necessarily contradictory to what we're talking about in the spiritual sense of
exactly, yes.
looking at this worldview.
Yes.
And we used your idea of like the virus and everything else and something. But I need to get specific. 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Mm-hmm. Do not be anxious about anything, and this is Philippians, but in every situation be by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Cast. Okay. That's I need to point that out. It doesn't say rest all your anxieties. It doesn't say just tiptoe your way and gently lay your anxieties on him. It says cast. Okay. And that's the translation from, and I can't remember the word, to be honest, but it's a deliberate term. And it's like, think about hurling something, right? Think about casting out your line to fish. What are that's not a gentle process. That's not like an easy thing. It's pretty strong. You know what I'm saying?
It's pretty aggressive.
Yeah. So it's not like a feeling. It's more like a relocation of that anxiety on him, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important to understand. You are physically, cognitively, spiritually picking up that anxiety and throwing it to God.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just a little small act. It's pretty abrupt and aggressive, if you want to think about it that way. Yes. So that's kind of what, because I think everybody gets wrapped about this emotional transaction that needs to take place.
Absolutely. And it's understandable, right? It's understandable. I get it. You get so wrapped up in something. I get it.
Yeah. So what is actually happening when you do that? And it's like, I think what this comes down to is the fear response. Okay. And this is kind of where you like, I will fear no evil, even in death, I'll whatever it is, that the fear of death is taken away and all this stuff from a Christian perspective. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm no longer the last line of defense for whatever that is. It's not me. My survival doesn't depend on me. My abilities don't depend on me. My outcome doesn't depend on me. That it's all up to God. And I have faith that it will work out. He does everything for the good. Therefore, I have no fear.
Therefore, I believe.
Yeah, therefore I believe, and my path is chosen for me and laid before me.
Yep.
The footsteps I walk are in Christ, not my own.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So like from a theological standpoint, that's really what happens when we cast our anxieties and our whatever on God. We're just relocating. We're saying, look, look, you can get through me.
It's yours, Lord.
Yeah. I am a mere mortal human being on this earth for only so long. I am a soft target. I am not going to be the end all be all, but God, who's the creator of everything, who's this great star breather, that dude. Yeah. He won't have any of it.
Yeah. He's no soft target.
No.
And
that's where it goes. You see what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's important to just understand what that means when we're talking about relocating our anxiety.
Okay. I got a question. It'll kind of feed into this. Do you think there is a percentage of people, and I think I already know the answer to this, but I'd be interested to hear your question. I do believe that there's a large percentage of people that have true misconceptions. Do you believe that there is a good percentage of people that choose the misconception purposefully, knowing, and they know that it's not true?
Yes.
And an example I'll use, and it's been beat to death, is a man cannot be a woman and a woman cannot be a man. Those are just simple truths. Those aren't insults. Those aren't attacks. Those are just simple truths. Your DNA is going to tell us who you are. Your bone density, your muscle density, all that will tell us who you are. Do you believe that there are people that buy the lie on purpose and are spreading the lie on purpose? And do you think that has something to do with the current condition of spiritual warfare in our country?
Absolutely.
Okay. Elaborate.
Romans says everyone in the root of their soul knows God.
Yeah. We were born of his image.
We have an innate core that says there is a creator.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that plays out when you think about why certain, and there's different avenues we could explain this, but I'll go here. Some of the smartest, most intellectual dudes who are atheistic, Dawkins, Hitchens, any of those guys, they know. They absolutely know. What they will not do is relinquish control that they think they have. Because that's, at the end of the day, what you're saying is, there's a God, my intellect's not enough. I am not enough. I can't control the universe. There's no way. That's what you're doing. And they cannot do that because their ego is in the way. And it doesn't allow them to do that. Yet they know that's the truth. At the end of the day, Sam Harris is going to sit there, meet the same God I am.
Yep.
And I think that there's ample evidence, and we'll get into the NDE like we talked about before. The NDE thing is fascinating, the near-death experiences, and I think that's a quite revealing thing. Even if you didn't have that, though, I mean, just looking at people's transformative situations from whatever life they had, and then when they actually find the truth of the gospel, how transformative it is.
Yep.
That should be revealing enough. Anyway, but that's the point.
Okay.
Yes, to answer your question, yes. People most certainly know, but they don't want to relinquish the control, or it'll shatter their ego that they've built.
Or they're purposefully an agent of evil and misinformation. I believe that there's many people out there who are purposefully bolstering misinformation and spreading evil.
You can get into the whole conversation about, and this is the Calvinistic view of like you're chosen or you're not.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case.
But I'm saying, but that's definitely what you get into these theological conversations with Arminianism versus Calvinism versus isms, and you get all this stuff about this is don't you be
isming me.
It's ism.
I don't want to be. I ain't no ismins up in here.
Isms.
Okay. All right. So I think this all ties into something, and we talked about this a long time back. Like, how long was it since we did Langan? Like, it's been only like a year since we did Langan, but it ties into the CTMU.
Mm-hmm.
And his point is the universe is as a mind. The theoretic model of the universe argues that reality is fundamentally mind-like in structure, right? The universe isn't just a container for information. It is information processing itself and self-configuring and self-processing language. God in this framework is the global operator, the ultimate mind whose self-cognition is the universe. Reality is, in a meaningful sense, God thinking. So that brings me to the point where what we are, right, which is kind of why I kind of, in the last question I asked, kind of end around drag to this. What is a Telor?
You're an agent. You're an agent of the mind that is participating and purposefully interacting with the actual mind of the universe.
Yeah.
God. And that explains so much.
It does.
But you as a Telor in this syntactic mind, right? Who's not just uses language but is language, who is not just data but who not just uses data but is data. You are part of that connection and part of that whole modeling of what actual reality is.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
You're an agent of reality, and you're forming reality as a part of it.
Preach.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and this doesn't contradict the gospel or anything. It's just putting it in a more theoretical, not theoretical, but it is. It's a theoretical and more intellectual perspective of that. God is the ultimate mind that the universe is birthed from and is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we are a connector to that, a Telor, as it says. I hope I said that correctly.
You did.
Look, I'll be honest with people. Like the cognitive theoretic model of the universe is a compelling reality theory that I think is so overlooked by academia and everything because because of who Chris Langan is, but it resolves a lot of tension from other things. And if you read his paper, which is, I'm telling you, dude, I'm a pretty smart guy. That's difficult to digest. It is really in the people who I think look at it and read it and go, it's word salad or whatever. I just don't think they're not comprehending putting the piece together like it is. Anyway, I digress.
I think that what Langan did, and the reason why people reject it, is Langan took and let's be honest, man, I talk to people a lot. Salvation is a complicated issue in a lot of ways, right? there are rules. There are things that you have to know and things that you have to abide by in order to be saved.
Or just acknowledge.
Yeah. I feel like Langan took a very difficult, overarching subject and made it applicable in a way that our minds could wrap around it. I mean, what he talks about a Telor, or there's another word for it. What's that other word for it? Teleological operator is what he calls it. It almost gave purpose to the interaction and salvation with Christ when you think about it that way. Because, all right, so you're a computer guy, so you have a master processor that can trickle down information to existing, or what do they call that? A server that can, so God being the server, downloading information into us, pushing us forward into what we do. That's a super applicable, smart way to think about things, right? Like, I'm not comparing God to a box of a computer box, but what I'm saying is he already has our lives and plans that he needs for us. He's downloading that information into us and pushing us forward. That it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, we're part of the hive mind of God.
Here, let me put this. I just thought of this, bringing this into a modern idiom. Think about AI.
Yes.
Okay. So at where we are right now with AI is like you can use AI as an orchestrator, and it's sitting there. So one guy I heard this said that, think of God as like the AI orchestration layer that is producing the sub agents underneath.
Yes.
But that's not correct.
No. That
is not correct whatsoever. That's a poor idiom. Think about AI being you, who's the creator of the intelligence that is orchestrating everything. That's the closest you can get in the terms of technology, kind of what you see with God being the intelligence and intelligence itself.
Yes.
Right? Because you have this ultimate logic creator. That's what so in other words, God's not, we don't create really anything that hasn't been created already. We can mold and shape things that are already there, but we cannot create brand new existing things. We just take stuff and put stuff together. He's the creator.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about it, we are the ones who take whatever he has created and contribute it back into reality itself.
Yes. We are the hands and feet.
Yeah. I mean, we're just part of it.
Yeah.
But reality is a I guess you'd say it's a conglomeration of and a cooperation of all our inputs. So we're actually taking part in how reality is formed as we're sitting here.
Well, yeah, because we're the agents that are being put into creating that reality.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, that's why it's a self-cyclic thing. Like, it's not just a one-way thing or whatever. It's actually all a self-contained entity in and of itself. I don't know. I think it's a brilliant way to think about it.
I think it's super smart.
All right. So let's get back to the whole thing about, this vacuum filling and our doubts and our fears and everything. I wanted to make the point that I really think this comes down to, and one of the things I really, really love about the Reformation period was the 5 solas, which, okay, let me make something clear. The 5 solas weren't really a thing when the Reformation was actually going on. It came later, but this is what these 5 things are what the principles of the Reformation was: grace alone, scripture alone, Christ alone, glory to God alone, and faith alone. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now these all, I think, especially are applicable when we're talking about this whole idea against that vacuum, because grace alone says, we didn't earn the clarity and we can't manufacture it.
Yes.
It's just given to us, right?
Yes.
There's only one mediator between you and the answers you seek.
Yes.
It's not your prediction engine.
No.
It's Christ. There's an authoritative source that supersedes all of the noise, all of the nonsense, all of the algorithms. That's Scripture.
Yep.
And glory to God alone. The resolution of uncertainty it's not about me in the first place. Like at the end of the day, that ultimate creator is what I'm subordinate to.
Always.
Right? And faith. We already talked about that, but it's actually our mechanism to say the unknown isn't scary anymore.
Well, I think the unknown is just the unknown, right? Like if it's unknown and fear is applied to it, it's applied by us.
Yeah.
Right.
But these are our operational directives.
Yes.
To deal with this information vacuum nonsense. That's where we're at. And it makes it to where it's not a fearful thing. Like when I hear somebody about when all this Iranian stuff, oh, it's the third, here we go, World War III, kind of, all this stuff. And it's like, oh, all right, whatever.
If you say so.
I don't know if that's true or not. It doesn't really matter. That's where I'm at because I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, don't care. People all the time will go, Brian, why are you so nonchalant about these? Because they're in the long and short of it, in the plot and plan, it is almost a zero quantity. Brian, don't you care about this because this happened? No, I don't worry myself about those things. I worry about what I can control and what I can fix and what I can make work. But outside of that, man, like, does it suck that people are dying? Well, yeah, nobody wants to get blown up and shot. And that is not at the top of my list on ways I want to exit. But I look at everything that's happening around us. And because I have an unwavering faith in God, I just say it's part of his plan. And I don't say that as a way to escape discussing it. I say that as someone who has seen and heard the truth and realized very clearly that it isn't about what I believe or what I don't believe. It's about what is the truth and what isn't. And as long as I'm following the truth and as long as I'm engaged in what I'm supposed to be engaged in, the unknown isn't a factor.
So, and I think that also leads back to the whole teleological function that we have.
Yeah.
Right? So, in other words, the principalities that are really behind all the nonsense really are trying to hijack your function.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling you that, all these things and trying to fill in that gap with fear.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, that's not your job.
Yeah.
And that's on purpose. I mean, that's with any media outlet we're talking about, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, whatever it is. It's all got a plan.
And I mean, when it's, you have all and we've seen this continually, right? With like the FCC saying they were going to do something about misinformation.
Yeah.
Well, what are they going to do?
What are you going to do, man?
And it's an agenda-driven thing from one side or the other.
Well, I find it very hilarious that the left is the one trying to illegalize disinformation.
Exactly. Who are the fascists?
Yeah. I find it hilarious that the ones spreading the most lies are the ones trying to make lies illegal.
Fascist.
Just hits me in an odd way.
But again, I'm the right's just almost it's just as bad, just different.
Well, the right's just spineless. Like they're just
they're just bought and paid for. That's the thing. They're just bought and paid for, bro. Just come on.
What you're seeing right now is just a bunch of spineless dudes. By the way, Reggie's having a wonderful latte.
It is empty now, by the way, unfortunately.
He has a laddie.
The Village House in Georgetown. It's not bad. Okay, so again, Telors and Principalities.
And Principalities.
So we started talking about the science of it, right? Why our brain a prediction engine that is constantly trying to fill the gap, how we seize and freeze on some things if we're an idiot. We kind of pulled that back into the scriptural idea and theological idea of, there's another way to handle this information vacuum, and that even the teloric example that we exhume as being the telors in the realm of that, the reality that we live in is all purposeful, and we have functions and all that stuff, and we have stress when we get pulled out of that function or try to get that function hijacked. So and we've talked about this before, like how we identify these things and what we're filling it in definitely says where your head is at, where your spiritual reality exists.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's what's vanishing is like, the whole thing here with, critical thinking. It's just like another key concept here that it's not the empirical side of things is getting shoved away in favor of the opinion about things.
Yeah.
And then you're not able to function because you seize on that opinion and you cannot get past it because you lack the critical thinking skills to do so. That's a key thing. Now, Pat, I want to talk about this a pattern here that what did Trump sign as an executive order on March 16th, Brian?
It's an EO creating the task force to eliminate fraud.
What does that sound like to you?
Sounds like common sense.
But there was another thing created for this purpose. Mm-hmm. What happened with that, man?
Doge.
Oh yeah.
Doge, a Doge employee admitted in a deposition they didn't reduce the deficit. Congress rejected nearly all proposal cuts out of 30 programs sampled. Only one was eliminated. 2026 spending bills actually increased spending.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. This is an example of the vacuum.
Yeah.
This is an example of a vacuum, right? Because you have one camp that says Vance will now deliver on this. He's the one. He is the unicorn that we didn't have before. Musk was not it. Vance is it. Right?
The unicorn.
The unicorn of fraud, right? He's going to spear all that stuff. And then you have and then I'm going to say this. It's all theater.
Oh, of course.
The uniparty is going to protect itself.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's not evidence for either one of those, right? We don't, but obviously we have structural problems, but it's not up to executive action alone to fix that. It's, that's the thing that people don't get quite well, is that Congress controls spending.
100%.
So it doesn't matter if you got Doge, if you got, this executive order of this fraud thing or whatever. It's Congress who has to do it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the people who have been ripping you off are the people that have to decide not to rip you off, and something tells me that they're not going to decide not to rip you off. That's a great way to say it.
And I think this is another example of like what this reveals, right? The information vacuum does not tell you what's actually happening in the world.
It does not.
Okay. It just reveals what you are perceiving and what you are predicting.
If anything, it's a prescriptor to a emotional response, which is useless. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, like David, this is where prayer and, lamenting and all that kind of stuff, kind of you can look at and go, this is why he did all this. The protection mechanism behind some of this stuff is just to just pray about it. First thing, part of that casting that we're talking about with your fears and everything about the unknown, prayer is part of that.
Yep.
Okay. So, and that's your telor self operating as it's designed. That's what you're supposed to do. That's part of your function, is to say, this is an unknown. How do I deal with that? I cast it to the ultimate intelligence, the creator himself.
Yeah.
And how can I do that? Well, part of it is prayer, you know, and I'm going to follow my discernment of the Holy Spirit that's leading me around where I need to go, and push aside my ego to make sure I can listen to that ultimate creator that lives in you.
Yes.
Right? So, you know, we're not a global operator. You're not going to know everything across the globe. You're not controlling all that stuff. You know, not even the greatest of Rothschilds and New World Order or Illuminati people. They don't control every daggone thing.
No, they do not.
They're trying, but they're not. They don't control everything.
They're giving it the old college try.
Yeah, I mean, we were never meant to be that ultimate source of control over the planet. That's just not. That's not how it is. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, a geopolitical thing or an economic crisis or some kind of military action or whatever. Look, that's not yours to carry. That burden is not yours to carry.
Doesn't belong to you.
99.9% of you, that's not your job. Even Trump, his job is very specific. He's the executive leader of the country, period. What is he supposed to do? He has certain powers and everything else is given to him.
Very true.
That's it. Anything outside of that function causes weird stuff to happen, and we already know that. Same thing with every other president that we've had. So look, here's the thing. When you have a vacuum, and the next time you feel this way, and it will, because it's going to happen, what are you filling it with? Fear or faith?
That's truly the question, right? That's truly the conversation you got to have. What is it that you're feeding? Are you feeding your faithfulness? Are you feeding your spirituality? Are you feeding your want to grow and become a better Christian? Or are you feeding that side of you that's afraid of everything? And trust me, fear is not unknown to Christians, right? We've had those instances where we feared, but the difference being our fear is subsided by our salvation and our faith, where your fear is subsided by locking up your mind and telling yourself things that may or may not be true in order to rectify that fear, which it doesn't really rectify the fear, just reroutes it to something else. Like one of the things, I say this all the time, and I know I sound like I'm picking on the left because I kind of am. Have you ever met a leftist that's truly happy? I've never met one. I've never met one that can go 20 minutes without telling me what's wrong with the world. Or what awful person did this and that they've been watching, and get over it, man. At the end of the day, that people are going to do what people do. You're not going to stop them.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Your teloric function is not to be a victim.
I like it. We're going to make a t-shirt out of that.
Your teloric function is not to be a victim.
Yeah.
It's to be a contributor to the ultimate reality that we live in.
That's right. Look at that. Ooh, hot take. We're making t-shirts out of that.
That's right. So look, are you seizing and freezing? Or are you like living in grace and faith? You know, I mean, look, that's what it's about. Are you filling in these gaps with nonsense and your own ego and fear? Or are you just saying, God, you got this. I'm just here for the ride.
Just get me there. I have faith. You just get me there.
So yeah, next time that vacuum opens,
hit the off button.
Hit the off button. Turn the switch off.
Do something else. As my grandfather used to say, I'm bored. Do something else.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Grandpa.
Thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah.
And next time that vacuum opens, remember that you have things around you that you can access that can combat that.
I also want to point out, when you turn on the vacuum, what's it get filled with?
Dirt.
That's a hot take right there.
You don't want your bag full of dirt, don't turn on your vacuum. Sploink. That being said,
we're R&B Tonks.
I'm Brian.
I'm Reggie.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.